In the late 1980s, a spiritual healer and teacher, Flo Calhoun, had an experience that would change her name and her life. What follows is only part of her story and the message she carries. One evening, she was on her way out to see friends, but she chose instead to listen to a voice within and wound up at the nearest Presbyterian church.
The Lord Jesus, on the night of his arrest, took bread, and after giving thanks to God, he broke it.
As she wrestled with conflicted feelings about her presence there, something entirely unexpected happened. She saw the shimmering, luminous figure of Jesus Christ. Apparently, no one else had seen the vision. The service proceeded as usual, but Flo could not. She fled into the rainy night. Then, through her windshield, she saw the figure again. More visions came. Visions that showed her the time of Christ through the eyes and perspective of Mary of Magdala, called Mary Magdalena. Not a harlot or a helpless follower, but a healer, a teacher, a woman of extraordinary vision and power who dedicated her life to serving spirit and truth regardless of the obstacles she encountered. 4 months later, Flo began recording her experiences.
I Remember Union, the story of Mary Magdalena, begins in the swing between worlds with Jesus Christ, Mary Magdalene, and Judas Iscariot having interviews about their destiny in the world. And they each choose that destiny, and then they move through this tunnel into their bodies, and Mary Magdalene is first. And she is therefore remembering more. She remembers more because she comes straight from that interview into form. And she lives a very interesting life that has to do with remembering her design and carrying her light and observing everyone around her that doesn't do that, and then making her way regardless. Mary has a very close relationship with both Jesus and Judas, and their destinies are linked together, the three of them. And her relationship with Judas is physical, what we might call normal, and her experience and deep relationship with Christ, intimate relationship with Christ, is cosmic, it's spiritual, it's over the top, blissful, and yet it is the merging of their souls and intentions for the destiny that they're going to create. So she has these relationships as an adult, back and forth and in and out, and that's woven in the book. And then she has this, what could be called a critical moment, where those who do not believe in what she's doing and are not open to the expression of the heart in the same way rise up against her. We have a chapter in there about her stoning, and then we have her preparing Christ for his crucifixion and the ways in which that energy of the soul needs to be manifested so he can go through the void and experience that. And we go right through the crucifixion, right through the resurrection, and right into other areas of their experience post-crucifixion that take place in France and in Srinagar and in Kashmir in the Himalayas, until Mary, at the end of the book, actually helps Jesus pass, taking all of that knowledge and all of that wisdom and placing it in the mountains and in the earth.
I think from the beginning I was fascinated by it. I didn't doubt that something like this could happen, that a woman who was living her life would start having visions. I knew other people that had visions. You know, some of them are locked up in institutions or put on lithium.
How are you doing?
I'm here.
Come in, come in. Well, the Justice Department check is late, again. I'm not sure really what this means for cash flow or payroll. Of course I spoke with my contact person. It's doing business with the government, Hank. Working on their timetable. What can I say? I'll let you know as soon as the check comes in. Okay. Okay. Thanks. Bye now.
Hey, sweetie.
Hey.
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 When Flo came to me with this book, I was astonished, I was excited. It made my world so much bigger than it had been. It made sense to me on a level that church itself and the belief structures of the church just had never held for me.
Got another chapter?
Yeah, I do. And some things that I'd like to discuss.
Okay.
How about you?
I'm okay.
Janie, how long are you going to do this to yourself? Don't compromise. Don't sell out. You need to work from your heart.
We started it 23 years ago, I think it was, and now in a lot of the wording in the book, it talks about this century, it talks about the 21st century and why we have to have this weaving of understanding that goes beyond thought and belief now, if we are to fulfill what has been talked about as the promise of 1,000,000 years of dreaming, which is peace.
It's the scene that came to me last night of Christ and Magdalene in a waterfall. I mean, they are such evolved beings. They can actually breathe underwater. There's somehow there's something within me. I remember this. Janie, it's like a fairy tale. Hey, can we go with this? Who's gonna believe it?
I do, Flo. A lot of life is like a fairy tale, right?
She was in a very vulnerable space because this book had transformed her life already. It had turned it upside down in many ways. And although it was exhilarating for her, it was also upsetting to her life.
All those stories contain things that teach us and move us forward. It's truth itself in all its wondrous varieties and words and beautiful transformations. And at the same time, it does something to our souls.
We were dealing with a story that was so different from the one I inherited in traditional religion, from what she inherited in traditional religion.
You have brought something new to the forefront, and that's scary. I'm scared too, Flo. You're afraid of the criticism and the judgment and the rejection that we both will face. I understand that, and it's okay. Just stay true to what Magdalene's telling you, and it'll be all right.
When she had these visions and was shaky with them, and they had really disrupted her life, it felt to me important to help hold her steady with that so that she didn't doubt.
You know what? It'll be better than all right. It'll be great. It's exciting and invigorating, and it will stir the light in people, and it will make their cells want to do a joyous dance.
So Flo is the channel for her. We'll sit together, and she'll record. I take notes. I'm a note taker.
There are many ways to bring light to man and to woman, and I knew them all. I was committed to helping them realize the light, for all that really mattered was that they remember it.
When we first started working on the book, both of us had questions about where it was coming from, what it was about, was it real? And There was an inner voice within us that said, keep going, this is important, let it play itself out. See where it takes you. See what comes from it, what is birthed from it. And it was a birthing process.
Here's what you're seeing, dear one. My merging with Christ was ethereal, and it remained so. There was no need of anything else, for that is the way of the merging of being. Our bodies moved to sound and music not heard by human ears. We floated in the spheres, forgetting our bodies, the physical conditions of our birth, and the learned restrictions of our humanness. And our beings, as two, became one again.
Oh my God. It's the first copy. It's beautiful.
As I got to know Magdalene through the many interactions I've had with her, I've been so moved by her courage and her capacity to put everything aside except her mission, her destiny, and what it is that it's important for her to bring. And I've honored her deeply as I've learned from her and listened to her as just not an honest, compelling person or personage, but someone who yearns to see the world the way she knows it can be.
It's an old way of living. Indigenous cultures know it. They live in balance and harmony with the earth. They have known how to do that. But when we come in with too much mind and too much technology for its own sake, driven by self-interest and greed and power, it destroys things. The balance gets out of order. We can regain that balance. And through the guidance from the heart and the soul, we'll find all the solutions that we need.